Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat from California, and Joy Reid. Thank you for coming on the show.
Be here.
Thanks for having me on.
Congresswoman, will the GOP follow Rush Limbaugh's advice?
Well, you know what? I mean, I think that he's held the Republican Party hostage for a very long time. They're scared to death of him. If they don't follow what Rush Limbaugh says, then they might get primaried. I really think it's sad. When the economy is slowly getting better, the #1 agenda on everybody's minds is jobs, not the antics and the theatrics that the Republicans do here in the House of Representatives.
Joy, Rush Limbaugh saying that Republicans just they just want to tear Obamacare down. They don't want to build anything up. Listen to this.
Now, I'm going to make a wild guess that most of you don't want any of this replace business. What you want is let's repeal this and then start from scratch.
Now, you have millions of people uninsured, but all we want to do is stop the insurance options you may have now, and then we'll just start from scratch. You just sit there and stay in your uninsured predicament.
Yeah, because everybody wants to go back to 2009 and do that 9-month process again. That's what we want to do with the next 9 months to a year. No, that's ridiculous. And the problem with the Republicans that they have is, and what they're worried about, Rev, is that starting October 1st, more of these benefits kick in. And it's a lot easier to say you want to repeal something that hasn't been fully implemented so people aren't 100% sure what it is. When people have the benefits, when they're getting the no pre-existing conditions, when they're actually getting all the free screenings and it's kicked in and people understand what they're receiving, then when you try to propose taking it away, it's going to go down the way that they used to when they talked about doing that to Medicare. Remember, Republicans used to hate Medicare just as much. Ronald Reagan on down used to say it would destroy the country. It was socialism. But once it was implemented, you can't even take it away from a Tea Partier.
You know, Congresswoman, John Boehner claims he, quote, won the fight by surrendering to the Tea Party. Listen to this.
The fight over here has been won. The House has voted 40 times to defund, change Obamacare, to repeal it. It's time for the Senate to have this fight.
I mean, Congresswoman, why can't John Boehner just stand up to the Tea Party?
Well, first of all, I think that they control a block of votes, and he can't get to 218 without their votes. But let me just say something else, Rev. I've been here 2.5 years now, and I have participated in all of those crazy 40-plus votes. They keep talking about repealing. You notice they don't talk about replace anymore because they've never come up with what they want to do if they were going to propose a health care law. And I think Joy is absolutely right. And I will tell you that plenty of my constituents right now already feel the impact of health care reform, and they would fight tooth and nail for anybody to take away the benefits that they're already receiving.
Now, not only does her constituents, the Congresswoman constituents, Joy, know the benefits there, let me run this to you for your reaction. If there's a government shutdown, as threatened, and it's looking more and more like we're headed that way, the people that are affected, military pay, veterans benefit, unemployment benefits, new home and business loans. What is not affected is Obamacare implementation, Social Security checks, air traffic controllers, food inspection, and postal services. So they would shut the government down over Obamacare, and it won't even be affected.
Exactly. This is the equivalent of somebody at a carnival selling a bottle of snake oil that does absolutely nothing. Because at the end of the day, it's a feel-good measure to constantly tell their base we're going to get rid of this horrible thing with the word Obama in it. But at the end of the day, they would shut down the government for nothing. They would get blamed. And Obamacare, just like Medicare and Social Security, would roll merrily along. It is non-discretionary spending. You cannot defund it.
Congresswoman, so basically what they're doing is trying to have a symbolic victory over the president, and some of them just despise him so because this is his prized accomplishment, they want to try to humiliate him by saying we shut the government down on his prized achievement, but they're doing it at the expense of seniors and children and people that will suffer from a government shutdown.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. But you know, this is a ritual almost that has to be performed every couple of months. Every couple of months we have to dutifully walk on the floor and cast our vote, us, of course, against measures to remove funding from health care reform. But this is something that they spin themselves up to every couple of months. It's really a sad waste of time. There's so many things that we need to be doing right now, like getting back to jobs, and instead of wasting our time with silly antics like this.
Joy, we go forward. They try again. The president doesn't blink. The Congress does not. The Democrats in the Congress go through the ritual. The Senate stops it again. Then what?
Then nothing. And as the Congresswoman says, they'll just do it all again. It is a ritual leading up to 2014. Look, these members are afraid of getting primaried. They know that if they don't go through the motions of pretending they can get rid of this horror of giving people health care, 30 million people, that they could face a primary. And all they care about is self-preservation. This is the most cynical kind of politics because it is literally just about self. It's about these right-wing members worried about even more right-wing challengers.
But Congresswoman, if this goes this way and leads into a shutdown, how do we salvage what the American people need and what they would have to endure if we're facing this shutdown?
Well, I think we need to hold their feet to the fire. I mean, the way out of this is, if they need to go through the ritual of having the continuing resolution that takes money away from the Affordable Care Act, sending it over to the Senate, then when it comes back, the Speaker, has to come to reality, go over to Leader Pelosi and say, look, I need your votes. Let's put our votes together, let's fund the government, and let's not have this shutdown. So this is completely preventable. There is no reason for this self-imposed crisis.
Joy, do you feel that the politics here in Washington, as polarized as it is there any outside chance that some responsible leadership could emerge in the Republican Party to stand up to these people?
I think probably not, because the responsible leader who would need to do it would be the Speaker of the House. And John Boehner has proven himself to be completely unable to even reason with his caucus, let alone exert the kind of leverage a Speaker normally does over the caucus. He is completely neutered by those 78, 79 Tea Partiers. He is a preschool teacher who's lost control of his class, and he cannot get them to quiet down and raise their hands when it's time to talk.
And he showed that today, Congresswoman, when he said, again, we're going to go and let the process go the way they have guided it. It is the most, it lacks such political backbone that it's appalling.
But, you know, he has on several occasions this year allowed for Democratic votes to help get us over the cliff. You know, he's done that before. He can do it again. It means him falling on the sword. It means him risking his speakership. But you know what? This is on behalf of the American people, and no one's individual job should be that important that you're going to risk the fiscal health of our country for.
No, but at the end of the day, I mean, I said to Sister Simone last segment, you've got to live with yourself. You've got to believe in something. Right. How do you live with yourself knowing you're doing these things to vulnerable people who for the first time have a way of ensuring their kids, themselves, people with pre-existing conditions, and well, you're going to draw the line in the sand here because you don't like the president or don't like that it's named after president you don't like?
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, Rev, is that you have a certain set of Republicans who do really believe in something. They really do believe the government should not provide anything for the poor or for those who go without. But then you have Republicans like John Boehner and some of these other Republicans who, honestly, I'm not sure they really believe in a lot other than keeping their jobs. And so when you have people who don't have core beliefs, and this is ironically what Rush and all of the right-wing media people say about the Republicans like Boehner and like McConnell, is that they believe in nothing. So that's why they think that they give in. But at the end of the day, because they don't have core beliefs to argue back against the true believers on the far right, the far right runs the party. The media people run the party, and people like Boehner are basically being blown along in the wind.
I'm going to leave it there, Congresswoman Karen Bass and Joy Reid. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
How desperate is the Republican Party?